Namaste, spiritual seekers. I am Archana Raghuram and welcome back to Temples, Books and Science. Let's continue our profound journey through the divine 1,000 names of the Lalita Sahasranamam. In our previous discussion, we explored a fascinating set of names that highlighted the obstacles to Atma Jnanam. We ended with Mohanashini, marking the destruction of moha or delusion, which is a pivotal moment as it signifies the removal of all impediments to spiritual liberation. Now, we embark on an even more exhilarating phase of our exploration. This next set of names describe what it truly means to be liberated. Once all the veils are lifted and impediments to Atma Jnanam are gone, you become a Jivan Mukta, a liberated soul. What are the characteristics of such a liberated being? How does one live in that state? These upcoming names will brilliantly describe the very essence of this profound freedom. Let's begin this transformative journey with the 164th name, Nirmama. This beautiful Sanskrit name translates to she who is without selfish feelings such as my or mine. At its core, Mamakara, the pervasive sense of mindness, is a direct offshoot of Ahankara or ego. From our identification with a limited body and mind, a powerful possessiveness springs forth. We claim, this is my house, these are my children, these are my things, implicitly defining what is ours and what is not ours. Philosophically, Nirmama signifies a state of complete non-possessiveness and non-attachment. Think about it. How can the Divine Mother ever be partial when Lalita is Vishwa Vigraha? The entire universe is her Swarupam. Since everything emanates from her and is an extension of her boundless being, there is simply no particular thing that is hers in an exclusive, limited sense and nothing that is not hers. This name profoundly emphasizes Lalita Devi's absolute impartiality and universal love. She transcends all distinctions of ownership or favoritism, never harboring feelings of possessiveness or attachment to individuals, objects, or outcomes. Her love embraces all, universally and unconditionally. This brings us to the 165th name, Mamatā-hantrī. This name means she who destroys the mamakara of her devotees. While mamakara can be loosely translated as selfishness, it's a far more profound concept in Vedanta. It's the deeply ingrained possessive sense of my or mine that defines our limited identity. This is where the direct liberating action of Atma Jnanam truly manifests. At its core, Mamakara is a direct offshoot of Ahankara, the ego, or our false identification with a limited body and mind. And importantly, it is moha, delusion or ignorance, which is the root cause of this Ahankara. In our previous video, we celebrated the destruction of moha by Bhavanashini. With the destruction of moha, the fundamental delusion that fuels ahankara, our false identification with a limited body and mind, is also destroyed. And what is the glorious, undeniable result of this destruction of ahankara? It leads directly to sarvatma bhava, the profound realization that Swatmaiva Devata Prokta Lalita Vishwa Vigraha. This is the liberating understanding that our individual Atma is none other than Lalita Tripura Sundari, the universal consciousness. When this profound truth dawns, when we deeply realize that everything in the universe is Brahman, and we are that Brahman, then Mamakara, the very notion of this is mine versus that is not mine, is completely dissolved. You can think of it as a domino effect. When moha or delusion falls, it inevitably leads to ahankara or ego falling, which in turn causes mamakara, selfishness, to fall. Mamatā-hantrī embodies Devi's active grace in dismantling this final layer of minus, guiding her bhaktas to this all-encompassing vision where the distinction between mine and not mine simply does not exist. She actively clears the path for you to experience this boundless, liberated state. As we continue our journey into the essence of liberation, we arrive at the 166th name, Niṣpāpā. This profound name translates to she is without sins, or she cannot be touched by sin. Why is Lalita Devi untouched by sin? In our philosophy, sin or papa fundamentally arises from desires or attachments. Since Lalita Devi is inherently without desires, as indicated by the name Niraga, she is naturally sinless and untouched by such imperfections. This truth is beautifully reinforced by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Namam karmani limpanti, name karma pale spriha. Actions do not taint me, nor do I desire the fruits of action. This powerful verse highlights that the liberated state is one where actions are no longer born from desires and hence they do not bind. It's a state of pure, untainted existence. This attribute, Niṣpāpā, is a direct and fundamental description of Brahman, the ultimate reality. The Upanishads consistently describe Brahman as pure, Shuddham, and unblemished, Apāpaviddham. We have seen this pristine nature beautifully articulated in earlier names from the Nishabda series, such as Nirmala, the stainless, Nitya Shuddha, eternally pure, Niravadya, flawless. All these names signify that Brahman is Asanga, utterly untouched by the world. Although she pervades everything and everything is contained within her, she remains unsullied by any worldly impurity. This name, Niṣpāpā, reiterates that Lalita Devi is entirely untouched by punyam or papam. The duality of good and bad simply does not affect her. She remains eternally pristine. Following our exploration of Niṣpāpā, Devi's inherent sinlessness due to her desireless nature, we now arrive at the 167th name, Papanaashini, meaning she who destroys all sins or demerits. This name highlights Devi's active role in liberating her bhaktas from the burden of papa. But how does this destruction occur? It's a direct consequence of the profound realization we have been discussing. When your moha, delusion, is destroyed and you realize your inherent oneness with the all-pervading reality, all your accumulated papas are spontaneously annihilated. This truth is again beautifully echoed in the Bhagavad Gita. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagda karmanam tamahuk panditam buddhaha. This powerful verse perfectly encapsulates the essence of Papanaashini. The fire of knowledge, Jnanagni, burns away all the karmas of those enlightened beings whose actions are no longer born out of desires. Just observe this verse. It will show how beautifully Bhagavad Gita and Lalita Sahasranamam reflect each other. Lalita Devi as Niṣpāpā exemplifies the first part of this verse. Her actions are inherently not born from desires. Kama sankalpa varjita, making her eternally untainted. As Papanaashini, she embodies the very principle described in the second part. When the fire of Atma Jnanam, self-realization, dawns within us, it burns away our accumulated karmas. Jnanagni dagda karmanam. It should be noted that this destruction isn't a magical external act. It's the natural outcome when we realize we are not this limited body and mind, but the all pervading eternal Brahman. It's like waking up from a dream. Everything that happened in the dream world, with all its joys and sorrows, has no impact on you once you are awake. Thus, the Divine Mother, as Jnana Swarupam, as the embodiment of knowledge, becomes the ultimate Papanaashini, illuminating our path to complete freedom from all karmic bonds. Now, continuing our exploration of the liberated state, we arrive at the 168th name, Niṣkrodha. This beautiful name translates to she who is devoid of anger. Here, the profound connection between freedom from desire and freedom from anger becomes crystal clear. Krodha or anger is fundamentally a byproduct of unfulfilled desires. When our desires are thwarted, when expectations are unmet, or when we perceive an obstruction to what we want, anger arises. As Lord Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, Kamat krodot bijayate, from desire arises anger. But as we have already seen with the name Niraga, she who is without desires, Lalita Devi is inherently desireless. Therefore, in her divine nature as Niṣkrodha, she is naturally untouched by anger. This profound serenity is an inherent quality of the liberated being, a state where the agitations caused by unfulfilled desires simply cannot exist. Building upon this inherent freedom from anger, we now turn to the 169th name, Krodha Shamani. This powerful name translates to she destroys the anger of her devotees, or she roots out the traits of anger from the minds of her devotees. Krodha or anger is one of the Arishad Vargas, the six formidable internal enemies that stand as significant obstacles on the path to liberation. Just as a fire needs fuel to burn, anger is primarily fueled by desire. As we have explored, when desires are transcended, the very conditions for anger cease to exist. The destruction of anger is a natural outcome of progressing towards Atma Jnanam or self-realization. As we realize our oneness with the boundless, all-pervading reality, the limited ego, the source of our desires and their resultant frustrations, dissolves. In this expansive state, the fire of anger, which once flared up from our limited perceptions and unfulfilled wants, is naturally extinguished. Thus, the Divine Mother guides us to a state of profound inner peace, rooting out anger by establishing us in desirelessness. As we continue our exploration of the divine attributes of liberation, we arrive at the 170th name, Nirlobha, which translates to she who is without greed. This aspect of Devi's nature powerfully underscores her inherent completeness and self-sufficiency. Being the very source of all existence, she has no needs, no wants, and therefore nothing to covet. Her state is one of absolute fullness. This name reminds me of a beautiful story from Panchatantra. There was once a man who constantly prayed to the goddess for wealth. One night, Lalita Devi appeared in his dream and instructed him, "Tomorrow, a certain sannyasi will pass by your village. He has with him a precious diamond. Go and ask him for it." The next day, the man eagerly awaited the saint's arrival. As soon as he saw him, he rushed forward and without hesitation requested the diamond. To his astonishment, the sage immediately reached into his cloth bag, pulled out a large precious diamond and handed it over and continued on his way. The man stood there holding the magnificent gem. He was now wealthy beyond his wildest dreams. But then a profound epiphany struck him. He ran back to the sage, caught up with him, and handed the diamond back. Swami, he implored, if you can hand over such an incredibly precious gem without a moment's hesitation, then you must possess a wealth far greater than this. Please grant me that wealth. This story perfectly illustrates the essence of Nirloba. When you possess the wealth of true knowledge, jnanam, when you realize that the entire universe and everything within it is you, then how can you crave for anything? Lalita Devi, being Vishwa Vigraha, the form of the universe itself, does not covet anything because she is everything. Hence, she is Nirloba, radiating the ultimate freedom from greed. And that brings us to the 171st name, Bhavanashini, which translates to she destroys the greed of her devotees. Greed, known as Lobha, is not merely a minor flaw. It is explicitly identified by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita as one of the most perilous spiritual impediments. He powerfully and vehemently reiterates, Trividam narakasyedam dwaram nashanatmanaha kama krodhas tata lobha tasmadetat trayam tyajet. There are three gates leading to the hell of self-destruction for the soul: desire, anger, and greed. Therefore, one should abandon all the three. This profound verse underscores the critical importance of overcoming lobha. Greed, alongside desire or kama, and anger, krodha, forms a destructive triad that degrades the soul and obstructs the path to liberation. Here we witness Lalita Tripurasundari's active grace in addressing these very inner enemies. Through this set of names, she systematically tackles each one. Ragamatani destroys attachments or desires. Krodha Shamani pacifies anger. And now Bhavanashini completely eradicates greed. It's truly remarkable how closely these names in the Lalita Sahasranamam mirror the timeless wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita, providing a systematic roadmap for purifying the mind and heart. Lalita Tripurasundari, in her compassionate Saguna form, actively guides us to abandon these gates to hell, leading us towards a state of complete liberation and contentment. Simultaneously, in her Nirguna form as Jnana Swarupam, the very embodiment of knowledge, she inherently destroys these qualities of greed, anger, and desire by simply dispelling the underlying ignorance or avidya that gives rise to them. Before we delve into the next set of names in this series, I want to set an important context. In the preceding names, we have explored how Lalita Devi, through her divine grace, actively helps us destroy the Arishad Vargas, the 6 formidable inner enemies that hinder our spiritual progress. We have seen her as Ragamatani, destroyer of attachments, Madanashini, destroyer of arrogance, Mohanashini, destroyer of delusion, Krodha Shamani, destroyer of anger, and Bhavanashini, destroyer of greed. But why are these Arishad Vargas so incredibly detrimental, especially for spiritual growth? While they certainly impede our worldly happiness, their danger to our spiritual journey is far more profound. To grasp this, we must clearly understand the process of Atma Jnanam. If you have been following this series, you already have an intellectual understanding of what Vedanta means by Atma Jnanam. Concepts like Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, and Tattvamasi, you are that Brahman, fundamentally declare that there is no difference between your true self and the ultimate reality, Brahman. As we have often reiterated, Goddess Lalita, the very personification of the universe, is your Atma. However, having learned this, can any of us genuinely claim that we are liberated right now? For most of us, this profound knowledge remains an intellectual understanding at best. It's not yet a lived reality. Why is this so? The primary reason lies with these Arishad Vargas. Think of your mind as a pristine mirror made to reflect your true divine self. Now imagine these Arishad Vargas, desire, anger, greed, pride, delusion and envy, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsaryam, as a thick obscuring layer of dirt covering the mirror. As long as this dirt remains, you can never truly see yourself reflected in the mirror. No matter how much someone explains to you what you look like or describe your features, you will never be able to see it for yourself. It is only when this dirt is completely removed from this mirror that you can directly perceive who you really are. Then, this profound truth becomes a first hand lived experience. In that direct experience, there is no need for reasoning, words, or intellectual concepts. Aham Brahmasmi becomes your undeniable lived reality. The next set of names in the Lalita Sahasranamam will beautifully explain what this liberated reality truly means. Let us now delve into the next pair of names, beginning with Niṣsamshaya. The 172nd name, Niṣsamshaya, profoundly translates to "she is without doubts." This is a direct articulation of her Nirguna aspect, her very Jnana Swarupam, the embodiment of supreme knowledge. Doubts typically arise in the process of seeking, questioning, and acquiring knowledge. But for the one who is the personification of knowledge, such a state of uncertainty is simply impossible. Lalita Devi as Niṣsamshaya represents absolute, unwavering certainty, a state of perfect knowing. Following this, we arrive at the 173rd name, Samshayagni, which literally translates to "she destroys the doubts of her devotees." This name explains the profound practical impact of Atma Jnanam on our lives. It leaves no room for doubts. As long as the Arishad Vargas were clouding your mind, that precious mirror reflecting your true self, your knowledge of Brahman remained purely intellectual. And any purely intellectual understanding is inherently prone to doubts, questions, and uncertainties. But once that mind is cleaned, once you experience firsthand who you truly are, there is simply no room for doubt. This is precisely what the Mundakopanishad eloquently proclaims. Bhidyate hridaya granthi chidyante sarva samshayaha. When a person truly realizes Brahman as their own self, the knot of ignorance in their heart is untied and all their doubts spontaneously disappear. This direct, unmediated experience of truth eradicates all intellectual confusion. That is why she is also known as Guru Murti, a name which you later encounter in the Lalita Sahasranamam. Guru literally means the one who removes the darkness of ignorance. As the personification of knowledge, as Niṣsamshaya, the embodiment of absolute certainty and clarity, Lalita Devi is perfectly positioned to be Samshayagni, the ultimate destroyer of all doubts. Now we move to the next pair of names which describe an important facet of Devi's Nirguna Swarupam and its profound implications for our liberation. The 174th name, Nirbhava, literally translates to "she is without origin" or "she is unborn." This name profoundly emphasizes Lalita Devi's eternal, uncreated nature. She is described as both Adi, the beginning, and Anadi, without a beginning, encapsulating her timeless existence. This concept resonates deeply with the core philosophical essence of the Upanishads. As Lord Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Brahman lies beyond all forms of existence and non-existence. Anadimat param brahma na sat na asat uchyate. The beginningless Brahman lies beyond existence and non-existence. In the context of Atma Jnanam, Nirbhava signifies that Atma, being identical with Brahman, is also inherently unborn and without origin. Your true self is eternal and not subject to the cycles of creation and destruction that characterize the phenomenal world. This name reinforces the fact that the liberated reality is one where we recognize our timeless, uncreated essence, transcending the limitations of birth and death. And hence, she is Bhavanashini, the 175th name, which translates to she destroys the samsara, the cycle of birth and death of her devotees. Once Atma Jnanam becomes a living reality within you, you are utterly freed from the relentless cycle of birth and rebirth. Liberation or Atma Jnanam brings about two direct and profound consequences. While living, you experience a state of ultimate bliss, reveling in your Atma Swarupam, your true nature, which is pure Ananda. This is called Jivan Mukti. And when you transcend this physical form, you will never be born again. This ultimate freedom is directly linked to what we discussed earlier with Papanaashini. We are caught up in the cycle of birth and death, samsara, precisely because of our accumulated punyam and papa karmas. When all these karmas are destroyed in the fire of Atma Jnanam, there is nothing left to cause you to be born again. You have transcended the very mechanics of birth, death, and rebirth. Thus, Bhavanashini signifies Lalita Devi's ultimate grace, granting final liberation and forever ending the painful cycle of samsara. You should not think of it merely as an escape. It's a profound homecoming to boundless freedom. Now, I'll pause our deep dive here for this episode. But the journey continues. The final set of names in this series will take us even deeper, describing the most profound and exquisite layers of what it truly means to be Nirguna Brahman. These names are similar to the sacred Nishabda series we explored earlier, yet they promise an even more subtle, more expansive, and utterly transformative understanding of Brahman and our own glorious Atma Swarupam. We'll explore these divine truths in our next video. As always, if this exploration resonated with you, please subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. Your likes and shares are incredibly valuable and precious. Please share this video with anyone who chants this divine hymn or learning it so that their chanting can become more meaningful. May the divine grace of Lalita Tripura Sundari illuminate your path, dispel all darkness, and guide you to the realization of your eternal, liberated self. Om Shri Matre Namaha. Namaste.